to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kirusho here. Now, whenever we last left off, Deku, Kirishima, Momo, and Ibarra, they had just helped clear out a section of this giant ship that the Sisters of Battle have landed on. They found out the exact reason for the distress signal. Now, they also do want to see if Ibarra is okay, so they would have taken her to the med bay that they have on the ship. Without an apothecary, they will basically have to do things somewhat of an old-fashioned way, using modern medicine. It's relatively being less advanced than what they're used to. Now, along with that, they would have started heading to the nearby planets, getting there in only a few hours. Or let's put that at 2, being relatively close by. Now, along with that, they would start heading between the planet and this base, since they do need to do training, this being one of the best ways they can learn, through actual combat experience. Now, they would continue on this way for months upon months on end, along with Deku and everyone else, or every other guy, finally getting their Phase 6 implant. The I'm not even going to pronounce that. I'm going to butcher that. Anyways. Now, they would be doing that as today will be their last day in the system. They should be perfectly fine. Today they are all going out. Only one sister will remain on the ship in case of emergencies. And they are clearing out the last sector. Deku today, he has been changing to weapons, usually finding that he prefers things up close and personal, since if he doesn't fight close and personal, Korn sometimes gets angry and yells at him that he wants a bit more chaos, that he wants a bit more determination and will. So Deku, sometimes he abandons standardized weapons and goes for heavy-hitting styles. Him usually carrying blades or even the war hammer, like this one in the picture. Now, Deku is running through and he is actually smashing into and actually destroying quite a lot of his opponents. Everyone doing the same. Ibarra using her quirk to create razor wire, or even vines that are just sharp enough to cut through anything. The thorns they have basically are able to puncture and actually hurt quite a lot of her enemies. While Kirishima, she can run forward and use a pair of brass knuckles that the sisters have made for her. They are specialized, since not only do they cover her entire hands as rings, they also do run up in the spaces in between her knuckles, somewhat as a metal bar down to her wrist. Whenever she does harden her hand, blades will come out. Little ones, however. These are used to get a bit of extra damage on her opponents, along with being able to get close enough to actually punch into and slash into her enemies. If she wants to, she just needs to move her wrist a certain way or even her hand, and the blades will move forward, able to use them like claws. Now, Bakugo does still prefer ranged weaponry, but he also has learned how to do his AP shot already. So if he ever does run out of ammo, he can just start holding out his hands and producing these rapid-fire bursts. Now then, with that, Shinsho, he's actually been able to try brainwashing these alien creatures. Him actually succeeding today, finding that this challenge has been heavy and, hard. Whatever these things are doing or however the mind works, It is very, very complicated, since apparently you have to get them to react to the correct stimuli, or even just reactions. Sincho basically holding onto this thing's back and giving it orders, as it is running around and actually tearing through its own allies. Until eventually Kirishima, she would tell him that he needs to get off that thing and take it down. Shincho saying that he should be fine, as he would give it a new order. Destroy what remains, as his brainwashing would wear off. It basically going to grab Shincho, grabbing him by his shirt and smashing him onto the ground in front of him. As soon as it brings its leg upwards, this is where Mineta, he would come in, being able to grab onto its leg and actually throw it upwards. As the thing would go falling backwards, Mineta immediately just slamming it into the ground with slime. The thing is being held down as the slime actually does somewhat turn a bit more acidic, starting to eat away at its own opponents. Mineta thinking that he finally got that down. Yes, finally! What is that? I'm not sure. Apparently, if my slime doesn't dissolve, or if my slime isn't, well, disappearing, I can mess with it a certain way. I'm not sure how, but it's really cool. Huh. That actually is pretty cool. As Ochako would come in, she would just tell them to stop messing around with it, as she would bring her sword up and stab it down into this thing's brain, pulling it out and turning with knives, throwing them outwards towards her opponents, hitting 3 different marks, telling them if they're trying to impress someone, then they're going to have to try a bit harder. As Deku would come running out with his hammer, jumping over all of them and actually coming up and smashing into a giant enemy. It would smash into the ground as Deku would bring up the hammer once again, turning it to its point, bring it over his head, slamming it downward, puncturing its brain, killing it, telling them that if they're going to try doing that, then they need to learn how to double tap. To which the sisters would be quite impressed. They all seem to be working very well and together, but they are still kids. This level of teamwork and, well, dedication seems to be unique. This will truly make them such a fine chapter. They are essentially a family, which will bring heavier challenges. Competing with family is a bit odd sometimes. It will not end well. So, the sisters would tell them that today they have finished this. So, half of us will stay here and the other half will help you and guide you back to Earth. You are in charge, as she would point to one person, directly at Bakugo, saying that he is in charge of his little squadron. If you are, well, believe it to be necessary, you can discipline your soldiers. Telling Bakugo that his achievements are fine and dandy, using those silly little words. Bakugo is somewhat getting annoyed, saying that he's earned the right just like anyone else has. The sister immediately turning to look at him. Bakugo just biting his tongue, something he does not know how to do in canon. Now, after he does that, the sister would just look away, telling Bakugo that she understands. You and Midoriya have always quite fought for something. You fight to be better than each other. Do you see each other as rivals? Well, no, that's not. Of course it's not. You see yourselves as the best. You deserve to be the best. Isn't that what you believe? As Bakugo just quiets down, her basically scolding him and telling him that that is not what this is about. It is about the betterment of mankind. Now, as she would walk over to a terminal, basically firing up everything as the lights come on. saying that this place, it is salvageable. They're going to get things cleaned up and try and get a message out to the Marines, finding where they are in the universe. They should not be beyond the Milky Way. As everyone somewhat realizes something. If they're out in space, then why hasn't anyone gone beyond the Milky Way? It's certainly possible, right? As Deku would open his mouth, asking this question, to which the sister would turn to him. She would give him a stare for a second as it looks like it's angry, but then it would somewhat turn to a worried, saddened look, as she would just turn around, saying that they are not ready for that information yet. Now, you are given the order to leave. Them immediately doing so. Deku is seeing that she somewhat has a tear forming in her face. That's not good. Now, they would leave. Deku, while he's doing so, he actually does begin to think about something, as he switches off a section of his brain and turns on another portion, as he's able to actually think about something a bit more clearly. He's not sure why, but he thinks that he's lucid dreaming. Not sure what it is, as he would bring it up to one of the sisters on the ship, asking if it's normal for him to be able to dream while he's awake with his cybernetic. Them saying that a portion of it should pass, however, it will take time. Your mind is still not used to these. Them basically telling Deku that he isn't going crazy, which would somewhat relieve him. Now, they would start the long journey back to Earth, as they are all resting in their quarters. Deku, he is actually cleaning his hammer, making sure that it's clean and actually polished. As he's doing so, he'd also look at his blades, going over them. These two, they are sharp, yes, but they do seem to be a bit dull in some regions. Him taking out a stone and actually beginning to hold it out in front of him and begin to sharpen it, as they are all talking. Shinsho is basically asking him what he's doing. Deku's saying that he's noticed that this blade's been a bit dull. So he's guessing those things are of hardened bones or something. Whatever it is, it's really wearing it down. Them continuing the conversation. Bakugo, Mineta, and Kaminari actually chiming in. Kaminari's been a bit quiet. And he's usually just, well, quiet, so it's not really anything to think about. As Deku would turn to him, asking him about his weapon. He knows it has something to do with his quirk, right? Him holding up two specialized things, saying he believes so. These look like little spheres, however, so they're nothing special. Until they begin to sparkle electricity and actually begin to float up into the air. Him saying that he can control the electrical field around these little things. Along with, as he would close his hand to a fist, them sparking with, or well, at least creating large spikes out of every side of them. Deku being a bit impressed. That is really cool. As he would continue, saying that he's learning to control more and more of these. If he gets good enough, he can basically create near to or possibly an army of them. But as the spikes would retreat, or the spikes would go back into these little things and fall into his hands, saying that these things are a bit more complicated. They seem to be, well, nearly alien, considering I didn't know how to use them at first. As Deku's still sharpening his blade. The door would swing open, and the sister would walk in, telling them that they need to rest. Whenever they get to Earth, they need to go to UA. This will be very challenging, however. You will not have your robes, nor your garments, nor your weaponry. As Deku would somewhat stop sharpening his blade, turning his head to look. The sister, he is quite aware of who she is. The one he gained the respect of. Now, Deku, he knows that she's not gonna ever admit that. The day she does, he's not sure. So exactly, what does she want? As she would continue talking, saying that they are to turn on every section of their brain and actually get proper sleep. Otherwise, you may make us look bad on those exams. Since there is more than one portion, you will need everything in every part of your brain to complete them. This is a direct order. As Deku would turn on everything in his head. Everyone doing the same, somewhat feeling a bit groggy. As they begin to get proper rest. Now, they would basically continue resting and actually hanging out with everyone else. Somewhat getting aboard while walking around the ship and actually researching quite a bit more tech. Learning more about the armor. Until they would arrive and be dropped off at the church. Now, whenever they do arrive, they would immediately just bring their bags inside, drop them into their rooms, and leave for UA. After taking showers, of course. Now, whenever they do arrive, everyone is staring at them. Them being seen as, well, odd. They're all huge. So exactly what is this? Them all walking in. All Might, he would see this on the cameras. Thinking that, they are back. I thought the boy didn't want to go to UA. This is beginning to get annoying. Now, with that, they would begin. Every one of them immediately acing 100% on the exam. The written portion, they were able to breeze through immediately. And they did not cause a ruckus, since they knew to be serious about this. Now, they would not have gotten Ida's attention, as the combat portion would start. Deku, he would immediately get ready as he start walking to the front of the line. Ida getting in his way, saying that he understands that they came together, but he is not letting her as Deku would just walk past him, saying that that is his sister. Ida not really sure what to do. He couldn't really stop Deku because, well, the dude's a behemoth. Second, he just walked around him, not really thinking that that was an option. But if that's his sister, then it should be okay. As he would somewhat feel a bit more embarrassed about that. Deku walking up to her saying that this should be fun, right? Oh, you bet it is. Deku turning to see that Kirishima's to his left. Him bringing his hand up. Saying that, how much do you guys want to bet will be in the top 10? Well, it's quite a lot actually, but how much do you guys want to bet will be in the top 5? Oh, I most definitely will. As they'll continue on, everyone's somewhat hearing them chat about this. Not wanting to let them be right about it, everyone would try a bit harder this time. Deku would begin by, as soon as he hears go, running out, at incredible speeds. His size is clearly misleading, as him and Ida are actually be able to keep up. Deku's running at 100 miles an hour. Not even that, Ida, he is looking at his legs. He can't tell what's under that robe, but he can clearly tell that it's not an engine. It doesn't even sound like one. He can't hear it shifting. But that is when Deku would immediately run into a robot, punching directly through it. as it is in half, falling to the ground on both sides of him. Deku continuing to do this. Kirishima, she is actually mimicking Deku. By any time she needs to, she would be running forward and immediately lunge with her hands outwards, basically throwing herself into a spear. While Ochako, she's able to run around, tap on the robots, and do a reverse, where she increases the gravity after she puts them up in the air high enough, making them smash in the ground harder than they should, and creating quite the devastating blows. Now, eventually the zero-pointer would arrive, and Deku, he is ready. As soon as he sees this, he actually does get a bit fired up, feeling Korn's mark burn a little. This clearly being a sign that he is using it. As people are staring at Deku, he's just standing there smirking, looking at this thing. As he would run forward, he knows he won't get any points for this, but it is going to be quite fun. Ochako and Kirishima are right behind him. Everyone able to see this, as Deku would cock his arm backwards and get ready. As soon as he gets high enough, he would smash into his chest and pull out a handful of wires. These two jumping out to his left and to his right, actually helping him. As soon as Ochako touches the robot, it would begin to lift upwards in the air. Everyone being in complete shock. Now, as soon as that happens, Deku, he would tell her to release, as she would do so, jumping backwards. As she taps on herself and reaches out for both these two, she's able to grab them. As she's actually bringing up one of her fingers, able to hold onto them, they are weighing her down. The robot would smash downwards in the ground and be destroyed, as they're all victorious, and would actually split the rescue points. Now, with that being said, they would make it in the UA, these three being in the top three. Now then, I'm going to have to end this off here, guys. I do have to go to work, and, well, the next part I'm going to try and figure out, because I did have an idea for it, but it will be a bit more tricky. Anyway, guys, I do hope you enjoyed.